Well, Manchester United are in to their second major final of the season. They have defeated Brighton in the FA Cup semi-final to make a historic Manchester derby FA Cup final in a few weeks' time. And honestly, I didn't think I'd be sitting here saying that this morning. I didn't give us much chance against Brighton. And the ironic thing is that if you'd have spoken to me, or those of you that do know me and have spoken to me, ever since the full-time whistle went at the end of the Sevilla game, I said what I really wanted from this game today was to put in a really good performance, match Brighton's quality of passing and energy and effort, maybe force the game into extra time and penalties, and then gracefully lose on penalties, whereby we build on the momentum that we've gone through the game going into the Tottenham game, but we also don't have to face City in the FA Cup final. But obviously, as the game went on, it became more apparent that I actually thought we should have been winning that game. I thought we played really, really well, especially defensively. And obviously, I'll get to my actual overall player analysis as we go further into this video. But I'm really pleased with that performance. And to get the win on penalties, which is a massive achievement as well. They said on commentary we'd lost 7 of our last 8 penalty shootouts. I didn't know the record was that bad. I knew it was bad. I didn't realise it was that bad. So to get over that sort of mental hurdle in actually winning a penalty shootout without missing a single penalty as well. Granted, once again, David De Gea failed to save a single penalty, and in his entire Manchester United career, he is still yet to save a penalty in a penalty shootout. So you have that as an incredible stat for you. But we do progress, and there's a lot on the line in this final, not just for the fact that we could win our second trophy of the season, but there's potentially a treble to protect, and it's our most historic record that we are the only team from England to win the domestic league, the domestic cup, and the European Cup in the same season. And as things look right now, it looks like Manchester City have an incredible opportunity to emulate that achievement. Obviously, they've got their Centurion season, the Arsenals have their Invincible season, and we have our treble. So to lose that would be a real loss to the club's history. So there's a lot of player pressure on Manchester United to deliver this FA Cup for no other reason than just to protect that stat. So I hope we do that. I have to believe that we can do that. But look, there's a reason I wanted to avoid playing City in the FA Cup final, and that is that they are the most informed team in world football. They are the best team in world football right now, and it's a massive ask on a pitch the size of Wembley, the way Manchester City play. It's a massive ask to say that we can go to Wembley in a few weeks' time and beat Manchester City in the FA Cup final. But obviously, they have some massive games coming up. They have Arsenal in midweek. They've got a home and away leg against Real Madrid before that FA Cup final. And they have some big games in the run in the Premier League as well. So who knows? Maybe we catch them on an off day. Maybe we do actually win the FA Cup. But as for the game itself, let's talk about some of the players. And I've probably titled the video along the lines of defensive excellence or defensive masterclass. And it really showed today, and I don't want to start throwing blame on Harry Maguire. If you missed my last reaction video, I actually put in a pretty strong defence for Harry Maguire in one of the comments around how we play doesn't suit him and this, that and the other. But we were so much better defensively today without Harry Maguire, and a lot of that is down to the qualities of Victor Lindelof, who not only was man of the match, but then went and scored the winning penalty as well. So you can't ask for more from a centre-back than to be absolutely outstanding, barely put a foot wrong, read and make more tackles than anyone else on the pitch, and then score the winning penalty as well. He was absolutely outstanding, Victor Lindelof, and I genuinely feel really sorry for the guy because he's been 4th choice all season, and I think that's an absolute disgrace. And with the greatest of respects, once again, to Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof is a better centre-back than Harry Maguire, and I would put Lindelof in the same bracket as Varane and Martinez. I've always thought Victor Lindelof was that good. He has been the most consistent Manchester United centre-half for the last 5 seasons, and I couldn't be more pleased with his performance today, and I couldn't be more pleased with the centre-back that we have, because there's a lot of talk that he could be leaving in the summer with the likes of Inter Milan sniffing around him. I would be doing everything in my power to keep Victor Lindelof, because Raphael Varane is an injury waiting to happen, and Lindelof is the one that should be playing when Varane's not available. Even at times, you can play Lindelof instead of Varane. I just think he's that good at times. So really, really pleased for Victor Lindelof. He is obviously not the only one that was outstanding at the back. I'll talk about Wan-Bissaka next because yet again, it was another absolute masterclass from Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Everyone was talking about the threat of Mitoma going into this game. How are Manchester United going to handle the inform Mitoma, blah, blah, blah. I had no doubt in my mind that Aaron Wan-Bissaka would absolutely pocket Mitoma, and that's exactly what he did, because that is what Aaron Wan-Bissaka does. He is the best one-on-one defender, possibly in world football. Just maybe right back. There may be a few centre-backs, the likes of Thiago Silva and whatnot, but as a right back, I don't know a better one-on-one defender in world football, and he is just so, so good. He is so consistent. Those little hook tackles he makes, his positioning in wherever the person is dribbling at him, his focus on the ball to make those talent challenges. And he neutralised Brighton's most destructive player, should I say. I would always say that McAllister is their most creative player, but Mitoma is usually their most destructive. And Wan-Bissaka had him in his absolute pocket. And then I have to talk about Luke Shaw, because I have been very critical of Luke Shaw, as you know if you watch this channel, over the last few weeks. But yet again, it's been another incredible performance at centre-back for him. And it's been almost 10 appearances, I'd say, now this season. And I'm yet to see Luke Shaw have a bad game at left centre-back. He has been so, so impressive in there. And I'm hoping that I didn't see Gareth Southgate in the crowd, but I'm hoping that he was watching or gets to view this game, because England are so short on centre-backs and we have Ben Chilwell as a left-back. I would love to see Luke Shaw play left centre-back for England. I think he's better than a lot of our other options that currently play in that England defence. And again, I hope he was watching that performance from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and I hope he's putting thoughts in Gareth Southgate's mind, especially when you look at the recent performances of the likes of Reece James and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, Reece James has had an ankle injury that is going to require an operation in the summer. So with England internationals upcoming, I'm hoping that he's looking at Aaron Wan-Bissaka and considering him, because I think he deserves it. And like I say, I hope Luke Shaw gets an opportunity at centre-back for England as well. As for the rest of the team, pleased with the performance, but disappointed it wasn't a little bit better. And I mean that from an attacking sense. I thought Bruno Fernandes's reintroduction to the team made a massive difference. He obviously is our most important midfield player. He was getting on the ball all the time, creating opportunities, taking shots where he could have had opportunities to pass. And I think this is something that a lot of our attackers were guilty of today, especially Antony and especially Rashford. And like I say, on a couple of occasions, Bruno Fernandes as well. Martial was in goal-scoring positions in several occasions today. And it just seemed like every single time Rashford, Antony and Bruno got in and around the penalty area, they took the shot when the pass to Martial was always there. So I felt a little bit sorry for Martial. I think he could have had a few goals today if the players would have got their head up. But at the same time, if Bruno would have been more clinical, and if Antony would have been more clinical, and Rashford would have been more clinical, those players would have scored goals as well. There was a chance in the first half where Bruno could have just run through and goal and finished it, but instead he just took one touch and shot. Antony, as he always does, cutting inside onto his left foot, looking for that curler into the far post. Both 2 or 3 times he did it where he just sort of ended up scuffing it and essentially just passing it to the goalkeeper. Not once did he attempt to do that shot into the near post, something that Solly March nearly caught out David De Gea with, and something that I was always appreciative of when Mason Greenwood would play in that position, where he'd cut inside onto his left foot and feint the shot to the far post, but actually drill it in that near post. I think that's another thing that Antony needs to add to his game. But all in all, like I say, I thought the midfield played really, really well. It's just a shame that we didn't put the ball in the back of the net, and it is obviously something we're going to need to do in upcoming games against Tottenham, Brighton again, and eventually when we get to that final against Man City. It's all good being defensively solid, but you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net at the other end. And I mentioned David De Gea earlier. Obviously, we gave De Gea a lot of stick after the Sevilla game. I thought De Gea played really well again today. He made some very important saves at big times during the match. Obviously, I was still a little bit nervous with set plays, and I would still say De Gea was at fault for a couple of the set-piece chances that Brighton had, where, yet again, he just stuck on his goal line, didn't want to come out and punch the ball. But at the same time, those chances were falling to players that were being marked by short players again. And clearly, once again, lessons hadn't been learned from the Sevilla game with this half-zonal, half-man marking thing. If you want to see my full rant on why I don't think that's a good thing, go back and watch that video. It was another thing that happened in the Arsenal-Southampton game as well. Arsenal were caught out by doing the same sort of corner defending. But like I say, happy with David De Gea's performance today. Made some important saves, but of course, yet again, didn't save a single penalty in the shootout. My only two complaints, I would say, from today's game. Firstly was the decision to take Wan-Bissaka and Bruno off from Ten Hag. I thought he'd thrown the game when he did that, and there's no disrespect to Weghorst and Malacia. They did their jobs absolutely fine, and obviously Weghorst scored his penalty. But with the game in the balance, to take off your two of your three highest performing players in that game was a major concern for me. I don't know why he made that substitution. Hopefully it was just precautionary because they were both tired and he was saving them for the Tottenham game. But very bizarre decision that. And my other complaint is the referee. I thought the referee was absolutely horrendous today. And normally I sit here when the referees had a bad performance and say that they were poor for both teams. But I don't want to say the referee was being biased, but he was booking Manchester United players on a regular basis and pretty much not booking Brighton players at all unless they'd made like 4 or 5 fouls beforehand. Like, Casemiro got booked for a challenge 30 seconds after a Brighton player did the exact same thing to Bruno Fernandes, and the Brighton player didn't get booked, and Casemiro, after making his first challenge of the game, received yet another yellow card. Luke Shaw was booked for his first foul. Lindelof was booked. I'll say Lindelof should have been a yellow card because he did pull the player back, but again, Webster wasn't booked when he did it to Rashford. McAllister wasn't booked when he did it to Eriksen. Mitoma should have been sent off. 100% Mitoma should have been sent off. He was lucky that Casemiro was able to avoid the challenge that he did get booked for. His studs caught him on the edge of the ankle, but if Casemiro would have left his leg there, he could have broken Casemiro's leg. And Mitoma wasn't sent off initially for that challenge. I think rightfully so. It was reckless and dangerous, but wasn't a leg-breaking challenge because of how the contact was made. And then how he wasn't sent off for the challenge on De Gea in extra time, I do not know. Yes, it was a goal-scoring opportunity, but he's taken a heavy touch. De Gea's cleared the ball, and he's gone studs high into David De Gea's shin. And I guess because it was a goal-scoring chance, that means it's not a second yellow card. Not only that, but the final play of the game, that free kick that Luke Shaw just kicked straight to Sanchez before the full-time whistle, we were on the counter-attack and Mitoma pulled down one of our players. And again didn't receive a second yellow card. Now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, that didn't matter because the penalty shootout immediately ensued and Mitoma didn't take any of the penalties. But if Mitoma would have taken one of those penalties and scored, it would have been very controversial because there is no way he should have been on the pitch. But, as I say, those are my only real complaints from the game. I thought the referee was poor and then Ten Hag made a couple of substitutional decisions that weren't great. But overall, I'm very, very happy with that performance, especially with the defence. And like I've already said already, I'll say a special mention for Dalot as well. I didn't include him because he didn't really have to do much defending. Solly March was a threat, but because Dalot's right-footed, every time March came onto his left foot, Dalot was able to handle him pretty well. And then going forward, obviously, we know how good Dalot is going forward. But in terms of actually defensive work, he didn't have to do as much as Shaw, Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka, and all three of them were exceptional. And it gives me a lot of hope going into the Tottenham game, especially after what happened to Tottenham today. And congratulations to Newcastle for another phenomenal performance and an incredible 6-1 win over Tottenham, which hopefully puts them in a completely negative mindset and allows us to build off of today's success going into the Tottenham game. And if we beat Tottenham, surely Champions League football for next season is secured. And if it is, our focus then switches to what will be an incredible final at Wembley in just a few weeks' time. The first ever Manchester derby in an FA Cup final. And I hope we win it. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I hope we don't win it. I, right now, don't think we will because of how good Manchester City are playing. And obviously, given the right results we've had this season, the likes of the 7-0 against Liverpool, the 6-3 against Manchester City away from Old Trafford, it is a bit of a concern that we could just get absolutely mauled by Manchester City. But look, I have to believe that we can do it. We have the treble to protect. And as I sit here right now, I'm a happy Manchester United fan with another cup final to look forward to. So, as always, let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on everything that has happened today and what you think of our prospects of potentially winning the FA Cup against Manchester City and our prospects of the top four after today's result for Tottenham as well. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back with my next round of Premier League predictions tomorrow morning.